Hi friends! Today we are talking about the early civil rights movement. While you're watching this video, please answer the following questions. Name and describe 3 successes of the early civil rights movement. What is meant by the phrase separate but equal? And how is Rosa Parks related to the Montgomery bus boycott? Black Americans' quest for official racial equality began the moment Reconstruction ended in the late 1870s. Even though radical Republicans had attempted to aid the newly freed slaves by passing a number of laws, including the 14th Amendment, racist whites in the South ensured that Black Americans remained second-class citizens. Literacy tests, poll taxes, and widespread violence kept Black Americans away from voting booths, denying them participation in the democratic process. These laws that were written to enforce racial segregation became known as the Jim Crow laws. In 1896, a conservative Supreme Court heard the case Plessy v. Ferguson and upheld the racist policy of segregation by legalizing separate but equal facilities for blacks and whites. Leaders such as Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois helped strengthen the movement and solidify the desire for nationally recognized racial equality. During the beginning of the 20th century, momentum for the civil rights movement continued to grow. Voices of the oppressed broke through in the Harlem Renaissance, thanks to great writers like Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston, who celebrated their cultural heritage. Other leaders like Marcus Garvey took a more radical approach, calling on all Black Americans to resettle in Africa. During World War II, Black Americans were also called upon to help the Allied war effort and often fought in segregated units. At the end of the war, the demand for equal rights reached its climax, and in the 1950s, the civil rights movement achieves 3 huge successes: Brown versus the Board of Education, the resolution of the Little Rock Nine crisis, and the Montgomery bus boycott. In 1954, after decades of legal work, Thurgood Marshall, the chief counsel for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, argued before the Supreme Court in the case Brown versus the Board of Education. The case focused on Linda Brown, a third-grade student who was refused admission into an all-white elementary school, despite the fact that the segregated school for Black children was much farther away. Marshall argued that separate but equal was in violation of the 14th Amendment, which afforded every American equal protection under the law. The main argument being, separate can never truly be equal. The Supreme Court voted unanimously to strike down the separate but equal precedent established by Plessy v. Ferguson, thus declaring racial segregation to be unconstitutional. In 1957, the governor of Arkansas, Orville Faubus, chose to ignore a federal court order to desegregate the public schools and used the National Guard to prevent 9 Black students from entering Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. This group of students came to be known as the Little Rock Nine and faced tremendous bigotry and hatred from their community. Eisenhower, now the president, sent federal troops to integrate the school by force, bringing the crisis to a dramatic end. Perhaps the most famous and most galvanizing moment of the modern civil rights movement comes in 1955 when a young Black seamstress named Rosa Parks refuses to give up her seat on a bus to a white man. She was arrested and taken to the jailhouse in Montgomery, Alabama. After her arrest, Black Americans throughout the city joined together in a massive rally outside one of the city's Baptist churches to hear the young preacher Martin Luther King Jr. speak out against segregation, Parks' arrest, and the Jim Crow laws she had violated. As the result of Parks' arrest, the Black community organized the Montgomery Bus Boycott, a year-long boycott of city transportation. After a year of boycotting, the Supreme Court finally struck down the city's segregated bus seating as unconstitutional. I will leave you here with these questions. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in class.